Back to the starting lineup with Scott Purrier, Ned Reynolds, and Art Haynes on your home for the St. Louis Blues. 102.1 The One.
And the starting lineup is brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Marshfield Chevrolet, and by Citizens Bank of Rogersville. And it's great to have you with us because we have a big show lined up for you. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the Kansas City Chiefs and their draft. That'll be coming up. And in the meantime...
That was a great job of stalling. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm watching Purrier trying to plug in his headset and say, I've got another 2 hours here before he figures this out.
Fill the next hour and a half for me, too. Yeah, I needed a headset to listen to our guest on the line, and it is Chris Parker, the Ozarks Sports Zone. Mr. Parker, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How are you doing?
Oh, good. Just, trying to see what this weather's going to do. We're at that time of year where a lot of big games, but also you got to dodge the weather.
The news coming out late last week that Central and Parkview will join the new look, refurbished Ozark Conference. No surprise to you at all, correct?
No, there were rumors of it online before it came out, and it's, it is a little different to have the 5 SPS schools in 3 different conferences, but I think they're all going to fit pretty well, and be in good spots, and you'll be able to, for football purposes, they can still. It's about a half schedule, so you'll be able to fill out as well with, teams to each of their levels from Lebanon and all those.
Does this really kind of set up, and again, this starts in 27, 28, where everybody is where they probably should be? I mean, Glendale and Kickapoo in the COC, Hillcrest in the Ozark Mountain Conference, Parkview and Central in the Ozark Conference. Is it kind of based on history, tradition of what they're doing here of late especially? Does that kind of match up with what you think where the team should be?
It makes a lot of sense. I know one of the arguments with the OMC was Carl Junction to West Plains is a long way, but I think what you've seen play out over the last few years in several classes and several sports is that these teams fit pretty well together. It's a really strong girls basketball conference. It's a strong boys basketball conference. So I think what we have now makes a lot of sense. Getting those mid-Missouri teams back together is good.
What does this do for COC in terms of scheduling? How much does it help things there?
It's just everything's ready. I mean, everything's based off of football, and now it's just ready-made. It's a round robin. I haven't talked to anybody about it, but I would assume they're going to go away from East and West, and we'll just get back to one COC because you're back at your 10 now. So I think it just makes things a lot cleaner for the COC overall.
Chris, from what you can determine, does Central plan on having a football team this year?
They've got a coach hired, so I would assume yes. But that's something they're gonna have to wait and see until we get closer to probably season on what that's all gonna look like. But they do have a coach, and but without talking to Josh Scott on what their plans are exactly, I can't definitively say.
Parker, I know you love track and field. Of course, you love all sports, but that's one of your babies. SBU Relays last week, about 1 million schools up there in 2 days. What did you take away from some of the highlights of that?
There's a lot of track. That's what I took away. Ooh, we started at, I think the small class started at 10 a.m. and I was still seeing live results come through at like 7:30 that night. There was a lot of entries. I mean, we were talking. They have 16 heats of the boys 100, but let's start with the big class. The Ozark girls look really, really good. They look like they're probably the class of the area around here, and they've got some really good high-end runners and athletes, and they might be able to, threaten for getting on the podium up at state. Gage Hale out at Logan Rogersville. I mean, we talk about Logan Rogersville a lot. They've got a lot of great youth. I mean, Chase Branham is only a junior, and then Gage Hale as a sophomore took home 3 titles. He's already gone basically 48 flat in the 400, which is incredible. That's pretty close to what the state winning time was. Seeing these kind of times out of a sophomore is awesome. And he also was a 1,000-yard receiver on the football field as a sophomore. In the small class, we were really, really highlighting the showdown between Henry Mendoza and Wyatt Claybaugh. Mendoza, in the 1600, didn't come to pass. Henry is nursing a little bit of an injury. He was there, talked to him. It sounds like it's all fine, but Wyatt Claybaugh kind of ran alone and won the distance double. So, but they'll see each other in the postseason. So it was a little bit of a letdown, but Henry is he's going to be good, is what it sounds like for the postseason run. So,
Chris, among the teams in there, were there any from outside the area?
Yeah, there were I think there were 54 total teams on the second day, and 10 of them were outside of what I would call our coverage area. But nobody from way outside. You're talking like the Eldons and the Sullivans, that kind of thing. And then the first day, I think there was only 2 that weren't from the area.
Parker, hold your hands up. You're doing it again. Get them off the table. So where are we with the majors, so to speak, with track and field coming up the next 2 to 3 weeks?
You're looking at, we're starting conference meets this week. The Southwest Conference meet and the Big 8 meet are both this Thursday. COC goes next. COC and OMC, I believe, both go next week. COC is during the day next Wednesday at Parkview, and then you're going to get into the district, because where the small class districts are going to be here coming up on, I believe, May 9th, and then you'll have sectionals the 16th and state the weekend of the 23rd. So that's why you're going to see a lot of conference meets for both. And we got conference for tennis and golf this week.
Chris, you might explain in track and field who qualifies for state and who does not.
It's strictly a top 4 situation. So they'll do districts, and they'll take the top 4 from each district, and then they'll run them the next week at the sectional, all 8, and then those 8, the top 4 from those 8, they'll go to state. 16 total at state. So yeah, pretty simple. It's got to finish in the top 4.
Well, does that include the teams?
Teams you don't qualify as a team.
It's all individual. Okay.
It's all an individual thing.
Ran into Lance Brumley, the Nixa track coach, yesterday, and we were talking about Hayden Mays and the weight events for state, and he said predominantly our area in districts may be the top 4 at state. Was it shot put or discus or both?
I would believe both, and that is a Jackson Cantwell effect. Because they've, you know what you have to do. It makes what was once far not seem as far when you see Jackson Cantwell do it, and you start believing you can throw those distances. And Loudon Bollinger, the Webb City junior, he is leading the state in the shot put. That's going to be a great showdown between him and Hayden over at Parkview next Wednesday, and one you'd really need to, if you're a track fan, it's a great one to watch. So yeah, that's everybody's changed what their definition of far is in those events because they've seen what Jackson Cantwell can do, and they've all raised their levels together. Last year, I think out of that district, we had 4 of the 8 state finalists, 4 of the 8 all-staters, and I want to say like 4 of the top 6 came from that district in the entire state.
Wow.
Now, you mentioned tennis, too, is coming up, tennis districts.
Yep. Yeah, tennis districts are coming up. We got to get through the conference meet. COC is today over at Cooper. And OMC is, I believe, Thursday over at Cooper. And then next week should be some of the brackets have started to come out. And tennis for teams is hosted by the higher seed. So there's really no like district host. It's just whoever wins, they get to host.
But state championships are here.
Yes, that's one of those that I would be very shocked if it ever moves because of the setup they have over there with the ability to go inside with a ton of courts.
Chris, catch us up on girls soccer. Where are we? Who are our state contenders? What big matchups are coming up?
Well, you had one big matchup last week, Rogersville versus Springfield Catholic, and it went to PKs, and Catholic ended up coming out on top. And so that is a preview of the district because Springfield Catholic has moved down back into Class 2, that is. Then today you've got a big Glendale Nixa showdown. That's big for the COC. That is big for the district as well, with Glendale being up in the class they are, with Class 4. So that's probably the biggest matchup of the week that we're really looking forward to. Nixa is 12-1 on the year, and Glendale is 12-2. So 24-3 combined record between those two. For our money, they probably have to be the 2 best in the state. I mean, Nixa's 1 loss to start with St. Louis Rockwood Summit by 1 goal. Pretty impressive resume that they started to build up there.
High school baseball, state rankings, where are we across the board with area teams?
These are my midseason. These are the coaches' midseason rankings, and we got 3 number 1s: Fairgrove, Logan, Rogersville, Willard, 2 number 2s, and Miller and Nixa. So there's a lot of high end talent. But Nixa, they're tied 2 in Class 6. There are only state ranked Class 16. Glendale's getting votes, but Nixa played Kickapoo last week, and it was a 1-run game, 6-5. So that just shows you even though Nixa's ranked 2. anything can happen. And we really saw that district last year with 5-seed Joplin getting hot at the right time. It's a chess match on when you're going to throw your aces. And it's one of those, sometimes an ace gets held and they never get to throw. So it's always interesting, especially in those big classes, to watch where they have a full 8-team district. In classes 4 down, typically the 1 and 2 seeds get a bye, so you only need the 2 pitchers. But in classes 5 and 6, you're going to have to throw 3 starters. And the quality of those teams, and so that's why seeding is so important in those districts. So that's kind of where we're looking there. Tonight, Miller, number 2 in Class 2, against Ash Grove, number 10 in Class 3. That's a big Southwest Conference matchup. They have a combined 5 losses between them. I'm going to assume Jace Wilkinson, the Mizzou commit, will be on the mound for Miller for a game of that magnitude within the conference.
Speaking of Mizzou, they got a commitment from the Republic D-back, Keiran Govan over the weekend. Did that surprise you that he ended up staying home? Because there were a lot of people that got in on him, especially in the last month or so, didn't they?
It doesn't really surprise me because Drinkwitz has done such a good job keeping in-state talent in-state. So just kind of following a trend of what Drink's been able to do with talent from all across the state, Kansas City, St. Louis especially. So didn't surprise me. It's a really good get for them.
When did he blow up? When did all this start? Kind of talk about his career because, was it at the start of this junior year? When did you see it kind of take off?
I really noticed all the offers coming in earlier this winter. It seemed like every time you looked at his social media feed that there was another Power 4 conference. So I'm going to guess it was probably a lot of the tape from his junior year and then whatever, camps he may have done in the intervening times. And that his athleticism, it jumps off the page. You look at him on the basketball court, and he's an all-state jumper on track, long jumper, triple jumper, one of the two. And so that athleticism is evident just by seeing him a couple times.
Going to Mizzou as a D-back, does Republic incorporate him offensively? And if so, what do you see for him next year?
You've got to incorporate a weapon like that. And I could see them. Again, this is stuff we'll get into with a coach over the summer, but I could see a lot of utility for him at a running back in that offense. Get him out in space on the wing and let him create and break some tackles. That's with that kind of speed and athleticism in that offense. Not so much the dive back that they run, but kind of on those sweeps. He looks like he'd be very, very good for that.
What's Chris Parker's must-see event of the week? We're going to start asking you this every week. Give us a couple. We don't want you to pin down one, but what are 2 things Chris Parker, as a high school fan, would say, I need to go to that this week?
This week we kind of touched on there, the Miller-Ash Grove game. Anytime there's a chance to see Jace Wilkinson throw in a high-level game, and I think he should be throwing tonight with the magnitude of that game, I want to see it. Skyline at Fairgrove softball. That's a fun non-conference game. Number 1 in the state versus number 8 in the state. And then if you like some golf, the COC tournament never disappoints. That's going to be some of your best golf in the area. They play at Fremont Hills on Thursday. They had the Ozark tournament there a couple weeks back, and there were some real low scores from some of these kids who will be there. So those are kind of some of the ones I'm looking at this week.
Of course, we asked for 1, and he gave us 3. That's typical Chris Parker. Going above and beyond, the guy who can tell us the backup catcher at Southwest of Washburn. Who is that this year in softball?
Oh, come on. You're giving me too much credit.
All right. Parker, hey, we appreciate it. Thanks, as always, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Take it easy, guys.
You bet. Thank you, Chris.
You put him on the spot like that. Come on, Purger. That's Chris Parker, who runs the Ozone over at KY3, and we'll be back at the starting lineup in just a second.
You're listening to the starting lineup with Scott Purrier, Ned Reynolds, and Art Haynes on 102.1 The One.